Massive day in the NBA on Monday with all 30 teams in the league playing. I'm going to be here recapping every single one of those games, and even better, there's going to be no more political ads, everyone. That's a bigger win than any team took on the court today. But let's start off with the Cavaliers staying undefeated, going 8-0 on the year now, beating the Milwaukee Bucks 116 to 114, which now means Milwaukee has lost 6 games in a row, falling to 1-6 on the season. Even with Milwaukee being shorthanded, they've been without Chris Middleton all year. They were without Giannis tonight. This was his first missed game of the season. They were able to be in this game down the stretch despite being down big early on. They were down 20 basically in the first half of this one. Cleveland was able to just jump out to a really great start on the offensive side of the ball, but in the third quarter, Milwaukee played by far their best frame on the defensive side of the ball, and in general they won that third quarter 31-16 to get right back into this game. They take the lead, they go up by as much as 7-8 down the stretch of this one with like 6 minutes left, and then Cleveland goes on a run of their own. They are led by Darius Garland, who is fantastic down the stretch and in general great in this one. And the Cavaliers were able to hold on and get the win to move to an 8-0 start to the season. Bad third quarter where Cleveland shot 6 of 20 from the field. The Cavs overall had a really efficient game from the field, going 50% from the field, 46% from long distance, making 17 of their 37 shots from three. They were led by Darius Garland, who had 39 points, 8 assists, 15 of 22 shooting, made 7 of his 11 threes. He was tremendous down the stretch as well, and he has been off to a great start this year, has looked a lot more like that 2022, 2023 Darius Garland that was an all-star, and it's been great to see him bounce back and really you can tell that he loves being out there again, and it's so great to see. And another thing is his decision making has been so much better to start this season. He's making more quick and concise decisions, and it's opening up Cleveland's offense so much more. So even when a guy like Donovan Mitchell, who hasn't been off to that great of a start this year. He had 14 points tonight, finished just 33% from the field. Hasn't been his best offensive start to the season all around. The Cavs have still been able to be great on the offensive side of the ball while also playing some great defense, and that's also been helped by their two big men of Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley, who have both been off to really strong starts to the year. Jarrett Allen 14 and 15 on the night on 50% shooting. Evan Mobley 17, 5 and 3. May have shot just 6 of 15, which is low for his standards, but both of those guys will also bring such amazing value on the defensive side of the ball as well. And the Cavs starting five is so great, and they don't even have Max Strus back yet, who won't be back for another few weeks. And this starting five is what's going to make Cleveland potentially Boston's biggest threat in the Eastern Conference, especially with the way they've been playing. Lillard tried his hardest for Milwaukee. He ended the night with 36 points, 7 assists, shoots 50% from the field, makes 5 threes as well. All around was a great game for him, but it was just not enough for Milwaukee to get the win in this one. It was an interesting game for Bobby Portis. It's one of those games where you're going to look at the box score, and as I'm looking down at it, 21 points, 18 rebounds. You look at that, and you're going to say, oh my God, he played a terrific game. However, he was 10 of 21 from the field, which isn't the most efficient. It wasn't the worst, wasn't the best either. But the issue with Bobby Portis, and it's becoming more apparent over the years, it sucks, especially because he's a guy I like, but his defensive capabilities are very limited, and he completely clogs the offense up. He likes playing that slow 2010, early 2010s, post up mid-range style basketball, and it just clogs Milwaukee's offense up at points. And when you're getting beat like he got beat on the defensive side of the ball last night, it really causes a lot of issues. So while he does have 21 points, while he was great on the glass, grabbing 18 rebounds, he also has his issues and his limitations, which is why Milwaukee fans do want him traded. That's become the consensus out in Milwaukee, and I can understand why. AJ Green, he had a really strong game, 21 points in 33 minutes, shot 7 of 9 from 3. Finally, he got minutes, and look at that. Look at what happens when you play a young guy, Doc Rivers. He plays well. It's a crazy concept, I know. Brook Lopez, he had 13 and 6, shot 6 of 12 from the field, and Milwaukee's lower end depth outside of that didn't do much. Prince only had 3. Gary Trent Jr. had a quiet game. Just not a good start to this season for Milwaukee. They're at 1-6 right now, but with how funky the Eastern Conference has been to start out this season, you never know what can happen. I think there are only 2 teams above 500 in the Eastern Conference right now, which we're going to be talking about throughout this video. Again Wednesday, where they are in New Orleans, while Milwaukee doesn't play again until Friday, where they take on the Jazz. Got the Warriors winning their 4th straight game and improving to 6-1 on the season, beating the Washington Wizards 125-112 as Washington moves to 2-4 on the season. For a game that Golden State had the lead in throughout the entire game, and one where they were never really in danger of losing, it was a pretty interesting game. The Warriors started out on an early lead thanks to their defense, which has been surprisingly fantastic to start the year. Golden State is near the top of the league in a lot of defensive statistics, and they have been completely shutting teams down to start the season off, and it led to them taking an early lead. But what was weird about this game is the lead was at like an 8-14 range for most of this game. The Golden State was never really able to pull away and turn this into a blowout. The biggest they ever got the lead was 17, but Washington was also never really able to threaten. They would get close. They would get to 8. They would go on these like little runs that got it semi-close, but anytime Golden State was in danger, they were able to counter well, which led to them getting their 4th win in a row. Multiple reasons for Golden State's strong start this year in my eyes. They've had some great defense, of course, which has been, the big talking point, and it's rightfully deserved. They've been one of the best defensive teams in the entire league, but another reason why I like them so much is they've been getting so many different scores as well. You've seen guys like Buddy Hield have great starts of the year. He had 20 tonight on 50% shooting. Draymond's had a few good offensive games, which has surprised me. He had 18 on 5 of 7 shooting tonight. Kuminga's come off the bench a few games. He was in double figures. Moses Moody was in double figures. Wiggins might not have had a good game in this one, but he's had a strong start to this year. Kyle Anderson's been playing well off the bench. Lindy Waters had a great game a few games ago. So even without Steph Curry in a few of these games, Golden State has been able to get wins. And in Curry's return tonight, he has 24 points in 24 minutes. All around strong game for Golden State. They continue their great start to the year. They're 6-1 right now, one of the best teams in the Western Conference, and this could be a year where they shock a lot of people. I didn't have a lot of faith heading into the season for Golden State, but they have proved me extremely wrong so far because they're playing some amazing basketball. For the Wizards, it just was not an efficient enough effort. The young guys for Washington either started out too cold or just did not have good shooting games all around, which forced Washington to lose this one. And that's not, a knock on Washington's young guys. They've actually been off to a really strong start to the season. Keyshawn George, he finishes with 20 even after his really cold start. That's why he shot 7 of 19, took 6 of 17 shots from long distance. He was letting it fly from downtown. Started off cold, but picked it up more as the game progressed. Alex Sarr, really good defender. We all know that. His defense has been great to start the year. It's just that shot that's been really inefficient. He finishes with a 3 of 10 night, was not able to hit any of his 4 threes. Bilal Coulibaly wasn't able to get in double figures, but he's been off to a really good start to the year. Jordan Poole led Washington in shooting with 24, but went just 40% from the field, 2 of 10 from long distance. Washington, in general, a horrible night from 3, 10 of 43 from downtown, which really hurt them in this one. But despite that, Washington, they've been off to a better start this season than they would have expected, but in this one, their offense was just not good enough. Get another win Wednesday in a massive game against the Celtics, while the Wizards don't play until Friday night where they take on the Grizzlies. Got the Pistons pulling off a big upset, beating the Lakers 115 to 103. Detroit is now 3-5 on the season with 3 wins in their last 4 games, and the Lakers are now 4-3 on the season with 3 losses in their last 4 games. This one, the Pistons had control for the majority of this game, and that was even with a third quarter where they scored just 16 points, and this was because of how great the Pistons were in the first half on both ends. Detroit's offense scored 67 first half points. Their defense in the first quarter was really strong. The Pistons were up by as much as 20 points in the first half. They started this game out tremendously, jumping out in front. The Lakers tried to fight back. They had a good third quarter, like I said, where they held Detroit to just 16 points. But, the Lakers only scored 24 in that third quarter, a frame that they could have, used to propel them back in this game. They only really cut the deficit a little bit, and Detroit was able to hold on, have a strong fourth quarter, and get a good win here. The Pistons were able to shoot 50% or better in every single quarter but that horrendous third quarter that they had, and this was even with them ending the game shooting 9 of 34 from downtown. Detroit was able to get 6 players in double figures, and it was led by Jaden Ivey, who had 26 points on the night, going 10 of 16 from the field. All around a very strong game for him. Added 4 assists as well. Cade Cunningham, he had a triple-double, 17 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists. He shoots 7 of 17 from the field. You would have probably liked that to be a little more efficient, but he had a really strong passing game, had 3 turnovers, which has been low for his standards this year. Cunningham's had an issue with turning the ball over, and you'll take an 11-3 assist to turnover ratio any day of the week. Jalen Duran, he had a strong game, 11 points, 14 rebounds, goes 5 of 7 from the field. Tim Hardaway Jr. has a good game, 19 points, 7 of 12 from the field, hit 4 of Detroit's 8 threes. Tobias Harris started the game off well, having 11 of his 15 points in the first quarter, and Ron Holland, despite going 0 of 5 from downtown, he was driving well, finished with 12 points, and his defense has been really impressing me to start this season off. He had 2 on the night, and all around is just a beast on the defensive end. And through those 6 players and a solid game from Isaiah Stewart off the bench, the Pistons were able to get by far their best win of the season so far and have now won 3 of their last 4 games. There were 2 main factors for me and the reason they lost this one. The first one was their bench play. They took just 9 bench shots in total, scoring 10 points off of the bench, and that is a big factor. They didn't get that much from their lower end depth, and from their best guys, most of them weren't very efficient either. The Lakers only had 1 quarter where they shot above 50% from the field. You look at the stats, Anthony Davis, 37 points, 9 rebounds, continues his sensational start to the year. He shoots 13 of 23 from the field. LeBron, 20 points, 8 rebounds, 11 assists, had his moments. 7 of 16 from the field. He was just 1 of 5 in the fourth quarter. The Lakers probably would have liked that to be a little bit better, but he was passing the ball really well. He had 5 fourth quarter assists, was distributing like LeBron James does, Austin Reeves, he had 17 points, shot 7 of 17 from the field, 3 of 10 from long distance. D'Angelo Russell, 11 points, 8 assists, shoots just 4 of 14 from the field, an inefficient game for him, and Rui gets 8 points. He makes both of his threes, but was 0 of 4 from 2, and all around just not the best game for the Lakers. Detroit outplayed them for a good majority of this game, and the score showed it. The Lakers got outplayed. It's plain and simple. This is a loss that they would really like to forget, and now they've lost 3 of their last 4, and they've got to turn this around pretty quickly. These teams will play again on the road Wednesday, with Detroit being in Charlotte and the Lakers being in Memphis. Got the Celtics dominant 123-93 win on the season. Boston now advances to 7-1 on the season, while Atlanta is now at 3-5. And in this game, it was close for about a quarter and 3-4 minutes, 15, 16 minutes. This game was back and forth. Neither team really had an edge, and then Boston's defense completely shut the Hawks down. The Celtics go on a massive run throughout the rest of the second quarter. They take it into the start of the third quarter. From the second to the fourth quarter, Atlanta never had a quarter where they scored more than 25 points. The Hawks scored just 40 second half points as well, and this helped lead Boston to a dominant win where they were up by as much as 37 at one point and win this game by a final total of 30 points. Dominated this one on both sides of the ball. They had a great first half on the offensive side of the ball. From the second quarter onwards, they played great on the defensive side of the ball, and they had a lot of different scorers, this one in double figures or close to double figures. They were led by Jason Tatum, who continues his strong start to the year. 28 points, 6 rebounds, and 9 assists, 10 of 21 from the field, 6 of 14 from 3. Derek White, he has 21 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 50% shooting. He makes 4 threes. Peyton Pritchard continues to look like a 6th man of the year candidate. 18 points, 7 of 12 shooting. He's been off to an absolute heater to start this season. He's been great on the offensive side of the ball. Neiman Eskida, he was in double figures, 10 points, 7 rebounds on 4 of 7 shooting. Horford, 9 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, had a few blocks, had a few steals, shot 3 of 4 from the field. Sam Hauser, while he wasn't the most efficient, going 4 of 11, he was in double figures. So even though Boston was without Jaylen Brown in this one, they still absolutely demolished Atlanta. Just not a good game for the Hawks. They just did not have a good game on the offensive side of the ball. They finished the game shooting 6 of 31 from long distance, which helped lead to them shooting just 41.5% from the field. Their leading scorer, Jalen Johnson, 20 points, 11 rebounds, shot just 7 of 20 from the field, though, was not his most efficient game. Onyeka Okongwu, he did have a strong game, 18 points and 10 rebounds in just 22 minutes, shoots an efficient 8 of 12 from the field. Garrison Matthews was in double figures with 10 points. David Roddy, he had 11 points. Zachary Reese-Shea had 11 points, but Trae Young had just 2 points and 6 assists on 1 of 10 shooting this one. He had a minus 28 from the field, was overall a brutal performance for him, and one that he left early in this game. Was just overall a really, really bad game for Trae Young, which kind of led to the Hawks having this horrible game on the offensive end, especially a team like Atlanta. It's nowhere near as talented as Boston. When your star player plays that poorly, you're just never going to have a real chance, barring every single one of your role players having a fantastic game. But when your star player plays well, it opens up your offense so much. But that was not what happened in this one. Boston did a great job of guarding Trae Young, and Joe Mazzulla made a fantastic game plan to give Boston a blowout win. Teams will be at home on Wednesday, with Atlanta taking on the Knicks and the Celtics taking on the Warriors. The Brooklyn Nets continue with their surprising start to the season, beating the Memphis Grizzlies 106-104, as both of these teams are now 4-4 on the season. It was a surprisingly great game, actually one of the best of this 15-game slate that the NBA gave us, and this was one that was back and forth for a good amount of this game. A lot of lead changes, a lot, never at this point, at any point throughout this entire game, was this a double-digit game. Both of these teams never had a double-digit lead at one point. Memphis's biggest lead was 8, Brooklyn's biggest lead was 6, and neither team truly ever had full control of this game. The first quarter, Memphis pulled ahead early thanks to their offense. The Nets countered with a great defensive second quarter of their own and made it a 1-point Nets lead heading into the half, and after a slightly back and forth third quarter where the Nets were able to pull ahead, take the lead, in this fourth quarter, the Nets were able to stay in front the entire way through. Even though Memphis was right there, right on their tail the entire time, the Nets were able to hold on. And even though Memphis had a chance to win this game at the buzzer, Santi Aldama's final attempt just was not good enough, and the Nets continue their surprising start to the season. Reasons for the Nets win in this one was that their offense was much better after a bad first quarter. It ended the game shooting 47.5% from the field and 36% from three with 13 made threes. It's around league average, actually a little above league average. And the Nets also did a great job of stopping Memphis in the fourth quarter. The Nets defense near the end of this game was really impressive at certain points, and it helped lead them to this win. Cam Johnson, the leading scorer, with 20 points, 3 rebounds. He shoots a super efficient 8 of 11 from the field, makes 3 of his 4 long-distance attempts. Dennis Schroeder, he gets 20 points, 6 assists, 7 of 15 from the field, has his best game in a few games, had been a little cold these last few games, but has a solid one in this one. Dorian Finney-Smith, 17 points, 6 rebounds, an efficient 6 of 10 from the field. He made 5 of his 8 threes as well. Nick Claxton was in double figures, 10 points, 8 rebounds, 3 stocks, 5 of 8 from the field. Solid game for him. Jalen Wilson, he was good when he was driving to the cup. He finished with 13 points, 6 rebounds. He was 5 of 7 or 5 of 6 from 2, but he missed all 6 of his 3-point attempts, was not able to hit any of his shots from downtown. And lastly, the Nets were even able to get a win, even though Cam Thomas had an inefficient game. He finished with just 13 points on 17 shots. Was not a good performance for him, but despite that, the Nets were able to, pick up the slack without his good performance and get a great win here. And at Memphis Grizzlies just were not able to get the win tonight. We already knew that they were going to be without Vince Williams, that they were going to be without Gigi Jackson, but now Marcus Smart's going to be out for a few weeks. Now Desmond Bane's going to be out for a few weeks. And once again, Memphis just unfortunately cannot stay healthy right now, and that's not their fault, but it's going to lead them to lose some of these games that, on paper they really shouldn't. They were led by Zach Edey, though, in this one. He has by far the best game of his NBA career so far, finishing with 25 points, 12 rebounds, 4 blocks, a super efficient 11 of 12 game from the field. Probably the best performance we've seen from a rookie so far this year, maybe outside of Ryan Dunn's game against the Clippers a few nights ago. Ja Morant, he had a strong game as well, 25, 5, and 9, shot 10 of 22 from the field, made not one but 2 360 layups as well. The second one where he literally put the ball in the air like this and then twirl. I don't know. That man is a sorcerer. That's all I gotta say. I think he's a sorcerer. He's pretty good at that whole basketball thing, All around, though, pretty solid game for Ja Morant. Jared Jackson Jr. finishes with 15. Scottie Pippen Jr. finishes with 14. They both shoot around 45% from the field. But outside of that, nobody else was in double figures, Just all around was not Memphis's most efficient game from the field. That was partially because they shoot 8 of 30 from downtown, and they're now 4-4 on the year after, a solid start. But even though they're 500 right now, I think that they're going to be fine, Ja's still healthy, Edie's still healthy. They do still have a bunch of depth, and if they're able to, break around 500, even maybe be a little better than that, and still be able to be around that record once everybody comes back and everybody's healthy, they're going to be a very scary team. To rebound Wednesday against the Lakers, and the Nets don't play again until Friday, where they take on the Celtics. We've got the Kings winning 111-110 in an absolute thriller in this one. The Kings were able to make a big second half comeback in this one to get the win. After a back and forth first quarter, Miami has a fantastic second frame where they scored 36 points. Miami goes up by as much as 15 to start the third quarter off, but the Kings have a massive, massive run in the third quarter. It helps them win the frame 37-17. It gives Sacramento the lead heading into the fourth quarter, and it looked like that they were going to pull away quickly at one point, but credit to Miami. They stop the bleeding, they get the lead right back, and they force the final few minutes into a back and forth battle. Both teams were putting shots up, couldn't hit it. Bam Adebayo misses a fadeaway to put Miami up 3. DeMar DeRozan, he misses a shot, but Domantas Sabonis hits the game-leading shot with about 0.7 to play. He takes a little 10-foot floater, goes right in. Huge shot for him. Bam Adebayo, his heave at the buzzer does not fall, and credit to Sacramento, they get a great comeback win in this one. That improves them to 4-3 on the year. Miami continues the no Eastern Conference teams outside of Cleveland, and Boston are allowed to be above 500 trend as they fall to 3-3 on the year. Big reason that Sacramento won this one was that massive third quarter that they had. Yeah, give them credit for holding on to the lead in the fourth quarter and, getting that game-winning shot from Sabonis. But really what won them that game was Sacramento having their best offensive quarter in the third while also holding Miami to their worst offensive quarter in that exact same frame, completely flipping this game upside down. The Kings were led by De'Aaron Fox on a 28.6 rebounds, 5 assists, shoots 11 of 21 from the field. Good game for him. DeMar DeRozan, he also has a good game, 26.6 assists, 10 of 18 from the field. Domantas Sabonis, he also had a strong night, 16, 16, and 7. He shoots an efficient 6 of 12 from the field, made 2 of his 4 threes. Keegan Murray and Malik Monk, they were both in double figures. Murray goes 14 and 6 with 5 of 11 from the field. Monk comes off the bench, gets 12 points, goes 6 of 11 from the field. Keon Ellis, he was massive as well. 7 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, 3 of 6 from the field, and by far a team high plus 22. Breaking, guys, and I've been saying this all year. When Keon Ellis is on the court, good things happen. The Kings need defense, and it's been the one thing that they have not been that good at to start the year off, and he is such a great defender. And at the end of last year, we saw it when he came in to start in place of Kevin Huerter. The Kings defense skyrocketed. It became a much better product, and that same thing happened again tonight. Whenever he is on the court, the Kings defense is just so much better, and all around a very strong win for Sacramento in this one. A few issues for Miami in this one. First of all, their lower end depth just did not have a good game in this one. The only really, bench guy that was in double figures was Pelé Larson, who had 11 of his 13 points in the second quarter. Anyway, he didn't do much in the second half. And all around, Miami's offense had a much better first half than it did second half, and that was most notable on their three-point shooting, where Miami made 11 of their 15 shots from long distance in the first half. They finished the game going just 15 of 36 from 3, and Miami makes 11 of those 15 threes in the first half. Just something that you do not want to see happen. Butler and Hero lead Miami in scoring with 27. They both shoot pretty efficiently. Neither of them were insane from the field, but they both did shoot around 50%. Adebayo, 16, 9, and 5. He has 7 stocks as well. He also shoots 7 of 15, nothing super efficient, nothing really inefficient either. Terry Rozier, he has 10 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. He goes 3 of 6 from 3. Duncan Robinson, he was one of the only bright spots off the bench for Miami in this one. 9 points, 3 of 5 from 3. He did have his good moments, but all around just that terrible third quarter and losing that game like Miami did is really rough for them, and one that they're going to try and recover from pretty quickly. Teams will play again on Wednesday, with Miami heading out on the road to take on the Suns and the Kings heading back home to take on the Raptors. We've got the Jazz finally getting their first win of the year, moving to 1-6 on the season as they beat the Chicago Bulls 135 to 126 as the Bulls go to 3-4, and Utah had the lead for a good 98% of this game. They were in front throughout, most of this one. The Bulls' biggest lead that they had was one, and that was in the first quarter with 10 minutes, 31 seconds left. That was the last time the Bulls had a lead. Utah was able to get in front, but Chicago kept it close for a good amount of this game. The Jazz had a big second quarter where they went up by as much as 15 at one point, but the Bulls ended the second off strong and had a great third quarter on the offensive side of the ball to make this a game again heading into the fourth quarter. But the Jazz had a great fourth quarter on the offensive side of their own. They were able to pull away, hold on, and finally get a win. And here's a weird little stat. The Bulls won the third quarter 40-33, and the Jazz pulled out the old Uno reverse card as they won the fourth quarter 40-33. Is a very high scoring second half was tied both ways, which helped Utah hold on to get the win. It was a great offensive performance for the Jazz in this one. They go 54% of the field, 44% from three. They make 16 shots from downtown, and they were led by some real strong performances. Keontae George finally has a very good game, has by far his best game of the season with 33 points, 9 assists. He goes 8-18 from the field, 6-12 from three, and he was able to get to the line 13 times as well, making 11 free throws. John Collins, he also has a big game, 28 points, 13 rebounds. He goes 10-17 from the field and just pulled off an extreme poster early on in this one. Collins Sexton, 24 points, 5 assists, may have shot just 7 of 18 from the field, but he did have a good game from downtown, going 4 of 7 from deep, was shooting the long ball well, was not driving to the cup as efficiently as he'd like to. Walker Kessler, he had a good game, 12 points, 16 rebounds, 3 blocks, an efficient 6 of 7 from the field. Cody Williams was an efficient double-figure scorer. Johnny Juzang, he had 8 points. Patty Mills had 6 points and 5 assists. All around, a bunch of different providers for the Jazz in this one. It helped lead them to win the win that they got. And for the Bulls, despite their 47% shooting from the field, their 38% from three with 14 threes made, it just overall was not their night. They were always one step behind Utah, and that was just due to the poor defense that they played for most of the game. Utah got a lot of really good looks, whether it be under the basket or from long distance, and that led to Chicago losing this one, despite having 3 20-plus point per game scores. They were led by Kobe White, who had 28 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, goes 10-19 from the field, 6 of 9 from long distance, a really strong game for him. Nikola Vucevic, he's keeping up his really good offensive start to the season so far this year. 23 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, 9 of 17 from the field, 2 of 5 from three. He's been much better on the offensive end than I and a lot of people would have expected, which is good news for the Bulls. Ayo Dosunmu, he had potentially his best game of the season, 25 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 9 of 13 shooting. This is a guy that had been off to a cold start to the season. He has a great game here. Wasn't the best game for Josh Giddey. He had 15 points, 7 rebounds, did shoot 5 of 11 from the field, but was a team low, minus 18 on the court tonight. Taylor Horton-Tucker, he had 10.6 rebounds, 4 assists, but he was just 2 of 7 from the field. Patrick Williams, he also has been off to a pretty cold start to the year, 13 points on 5 of 11 shooting, did shoot 3 of 6 from long distance. This was one of his better games to start the year off, but overall, this is just one that the Bulls would like to forget. Their defense was really, really poor in this one. So despite their offense having a solid game, I would say, it just did not matter with how bad their defense played, and the Bulls suffer a really bad loss in this one. We'll play again Wednesday where they are in Dallas, and the Jazz will look to get another win Thursday in Milwaukee. We've got the Rockets getting their third win in their last 4 games, beating the New York Knicks 109 to 97, moving the Rockets to a 4-3 record on the year, while the Knicks fall to 3-3. This game was pretty similar to the Jazz Bulls game that I talked about in the sense of Houston had the lead for a good 98% of this game. Even though the Knicks stayed close for a good amount of this game, the Rockets had the lead for a good majority of it, and this was because they had a good first quarter on the offensive end. It gave them the lead. In the second quarter, these teams go back and forth. Houston goes up by as much as 15 midway through the second quarter, but the Knicks end on a 10-0 run to end the first half. It makes it a 5-point game heading into half. So instead of Houston being up big, the Knicks make this a game again. And in the second half, especially the third quarter as well, the Knicks had their chances. They played great defense in the third quarter, but they scored just 19 points in general. The Knicks lose that third quarter 20-19. Their golden opportunity was wasted, and in the fourth quarter, they had their chances. They cut it to as close as one at one point, but down the stretch of this game, they played some sloppy basketball, and Houston was able to gradually pull away and get the double-digit win in this one. Factor in Houston's win in this one was their dominance of the paint. They had 62 paint points in this one, while the Knicks had just 38, and the Houston shot 49% from the field despite only shooting 24% from three. Houston ended the game 8 of 33 from long distance, but despite that, they did a great job at attacking the cup, really doing a good job in the paint in this one. Alperen Şengün has potentially his best game of the year, 25 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 blocks, an efficient 11 of 15 shooting. 3 of his 4 misses were his 3 3-point attempts as well, so he was great inside all game long. Fred VanVleet, he had one of his better games to what has been a disappointing start to the season so far for him. 19 points, 5 assists, may have gone just 1 of 5 from 3, but was 8 of 13 from the field. Amen Thompson, he continues to look good. 12 points and 9 rebounds. 5 of 8 from the field. Dylan Brooks, he was in double figures. Jalen Green, it may have been an inefficient game for him, going just 5 of 16 from the field, but he still had 15 points. Tari Eason may have had just 7 points, but that doesn't show his true value. He plays such winning basketball. He's such a strong defender. He always hustles, and he provides so much value that the box score really doesn't show. And all around, despite a weak 3-point shooting game from the Rockets and a weak, game from most of their shooters, they were able to get the win in this one. And for New York, you just gotta, really scratch your head at this one. This is one that you should win, but you got completely crushed inside on this one. The Knicks finished the game going 39% from 3, 11 of 28 from long distance. Would have liked them to take a lot more shots from deep personally, but, they just didn't do that. They actually shot worse from 2 percentage-wise than they did from 3. That's just not acceptable, especially in a game where you just get killed in the paint like that. Jalen Brunson, 29 points, 8 assists, shot just 9 of 24 from the field, and made some interesting decisions down the stretch of this one as well. Didn't have his best game despite what the box score would tell you. Wasn't his worst by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, it's rarely ever a bad game when you score 29 points, especially since he had 11 in the third quarter. Completely kept the Knicks in this game in the third quarter, but just was not his best down the stretch. OG Anunoby, he had 21 points on 50% shooting, had a 5 of 6 game from 3, just was not good driving inside. Karl Anthony Towns, 17 rebounds and 19 assists, 7 of 17 from the field, was good on the glass, but was getting beat by Şengün and getting beat in the paint all around. That's the one thing that Knicks fans have been a little worried about with Cat heading into the season. Will he be able to provide that paint presence? Was not able to tonight, and hasn't really been able to start the season off, but to give Cat the benefit of the doubt, this is the first time he's really played center in years. It's going to get take some time to get back used to that. And his offense has been really strong to start this season off. So I'm not killing him. He's been off to a good start to this year, but if you're a Knicks fan, you definitely would like to see more from him on the defensive end. Josh Hart was in double figures. He had 12.7 assists, shot just under 50% from the field, was 4 of 9. Mikal Bridges, he had 15 points of his own, 6 of 14 from the field, 3 of 8 from 3. And outside of that, the Knicks' depth and bench just did not have a good game. Outside of those 5 guys, Deuce McBride, 0 points in 26 minutes, an 0 of 9 game from him. Just one that he would really like to forget. By far his worst game of the year. Jericho Sims didn't score a single point, but he was weirdly enough a team high plus 14, and Tyler Kolek added 3 of his own. So outside of, those 5 guys for the Knicks, just 3 points from their bench, all around a game that New York would like to forget, as they're off to a pretty slow 3-3 start on the season. But hey, that's tied for 3rd in the Eastern Conference right now, so don't really worry about it. Don't overreact, because the East is a little crazy right now. Teams will play again on Wednesday, with the Knicks being in Atlanta and the Rockets being home against San Antonio in a Battle of Texas. We've got the Wolves blowout 114-93 win against the Hornets. It puts Minnesota at 4-3 on the year, and it puts Charlotte at 2-5. A great overall win for Minnesota, who completely took this game over in both the second and third quarters. It was back and forth throughout most of the first quarter. Neither team was really able to, branch ahead. The Hornets had a lead as big as 7 at one point, but the Wolves ended the quarter off strong, tied the game up at the end of 1, and then completely took over the next 2 quarters on both sides of the ball. And to start the fourth quarter, Minnesota went on a run too. They went up by as much as 30 points at one point. An overall dominant win for them that was never really close after halftime. They just dominated this game on both sides of the ball. They were very strong on the offensive end, shooting 49% from the field and 47.5% from 3. And not only that, the Hornets were held to just under 40% shooting from the field, and also just under 24% from 3. Overall, great game on both sides of the ball for the Wolves, and they had a bunch of different scorers as well. They were led by Naz Reid, who had his probably best game of the season off the bench, 25 points and 9 rebounds, a super efficient 9 of 13 from the field, 5 of 7 from long distance as well. Anthony Edwards, he adds 21 of his own on 6 of 11 shooting and 4 of 6 from 3. He has an efficient game as well. Mike Conley and Dante DiVincenzo, these are 2 guys that have been off to cold shooting starts to the season. They have good games. Conley 11, 5, and 4, 4 of 8 shooting, 3 of 5 from 3. DiVincenzo 14, 5, and 3 with 4 stocks, 5 of 9 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3. Both of those guys needed these games, and good for them to get it. Julius Randle, he added 13 of his own, even if he was just 4 of 10 from the field. Gobert had 8 points, 8 rebounds, great defense, 4 of 5 from the field, and all around just a great performance for the Wolves in this one. The Hornets, they have just 4 players in double figures in this one of them being LaMelo Ball, leading them in scoring with 19. He did leave this game with an ankle issue. It looks like just a precautionary measure, hopefully. I don't want anything to happen to him. I mean, the big question for him his entire career has been his health. I hope he's okay. Also, for the Hornets, they had 3 other players in double figures. All of them scored 10 points. Trey Mann with 10 on 50% shooting. Miles Bridges with 10 on a very inefficient 4 of 13 from shooting. And Brandon Miller with 10 points on just 3 of 10 shooting. All around, a bad offensive performance for Charlotte, and it didn't help that they didn't have a good game on the defensive side of the ball either. Probably the Hornets' worst performance of the season so far all around. Nobody really came off the bench either to provide, good value. Josh Green had just 8, Cody Martin had 6. Nobody really stepped up to have that great performance, in light of LaMelo Ball being out and just overall not having his best game. Just a bad performance for the Hornets in this one, and that was why they were down by as much as 30 points at one point in this one. Look to rebound at home Wednesday against the Pistons, and the Timberwolves will look to get another win Thursday when they are in Chicago. We've got the Oklahoma City Thunder staying undefeated, beating the Orlando Magic 102 to 86, as Oklahoma City is now 7-0 on the year, while Orlando has now lost 4 in a row and falls to 3-5 on the year. This was one that was double digits from near the beginning of this game. The Thunder came out firing in this one. Orlando never had a single lead at any point throughout this game. The Thunder's offense has a great first quarter, scoring 39 points. They take a double-digit lead at the end of one, and I don't think the game was ever within single digits again, if I remember correctly, and that was because the Thunder had a fantastic performance on the defensive side of the ball in both the second and the third quarter. So even though Oklahoma City themselves didn't even score above 50 points in the second and third quarters combined, they were able to hold the Magic to just 32 combined points in the second and third quarters combined, and that turned this game into a total rout where Oklahoma City was up by as much as 26 at one point. So even though Orlando made it a little fake close at the end, as I like to call it, it was still a blowout win for the Thunder. A fantastic first quarter where they shot above 70% from the field. It wasn't that good of an offensive game for the Thunder. In fact, they ended the night shooting pretty average, going 46% from the field. Did go above average from three, going around 39%, but they made just 12 threes, went 12 of 31 from downtown, didn't take that many shots from long distance, and it was more of the defense. They held Orlando to just 5 made threes. They also held Orlando to just around 35% shooting from the field. All around, the Thunder's defense is really what won them this one. J-Dub, he led Oklahoma City in scoring 23 points, 4 rebounds, 10 of 17 shooting, made 3 of his 7 threes as well. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he had 21 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists, shot 50% from the field, 1 of 3 from 3. Chet Holmgren, he's been playing really well to start the year off, 14 points, 9 rebounds, had his normal fantastic defense, 5 of 10 shooting as well. There's a reason Chet's been one of the top DPOY candidates to start off so far this year, because he has been an absolute nightmare to deal with on the defensive side of the ball. Outside of that, Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe, they were both in double figures off the bench, both shot 4 of 8, 4 of 9, both shot around 50%. Outside of that, wasn't much for Oklahoma City's offense, but it didn't matter with how good their defense played. As we turned to Orlando, they had just 3 players in double figures in this one. Franz Wagner finishes with 22 points on the night on 8 of 17 shooting. Jalen Suggs had another solid game, was nowhere near as good as his game in Cleveland was, but still had a strong night, 19 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 6 of 13 from the field. And also, Goga Bitadze hasn't been playing much this year, but with Wendell Carter Jr. missing this game and, of course, Paolo Banchero being out, he had more run, 11 points, 9 rebounds, shot 5 of 8 from the field, but outside of that, just was not a good game for Orlando's offense. Every guy you look at, Mo Wagner, he had 9 points but was 2 of 5. Tristan Da Silva, 9 points, was an inefficient 4 of 12, Anthony Black, 3 points, was a very inefficient 1 of 8. Contavious Caldwell-Pope, he was 1 of 7, continuing his pretty cold start to the season as well. Without Paolo Banchero, Orlando's offense has completely cratered in these last few games, and without him, they're going to need to find some sort of offensive identity, because right now they look like a headless chicken right now on the offensive side of the ball without him. And this is something that, luckily with how cold the Eastern Conference has been to start the year, they've been given, a little bit of luck with, other Eastern Conference threats not doing much so far, but they've got to start winning these games without Paolo pretty soon. And I wasn't, of course, expecting them to win against Oklahoma City tonight. This is a really unfair matchup for them, but they overall just have not looked good without Paolo on the court this year, and that's going to need to change fast. Will play again on Wednesday, with Oklahoma City looking to stay undefeated in Denver, while Orlando heads on the road to take on the Pacers. You've got the Blazers getting another win, winning 118 to 100 over the New Orleans Pelicans. Both of these teams moved to 3-5 on the season now, and throughout the first 3 quarters of this one, it was looking like this was going to be a mostly New Orleans game, especially early on. The Pelicans started out this game really strong. Very good first quarter. They were up by 9 at the end of one, went up by as much as 14 early on into the second quarter, but the Blazers were able to stay close throughout the next quarter and a half. While they were never able to break through, they were able to stay close and keep it a game. And finally, in the fourth quarter, Portland completely pounces. They go on a massive 25-6 run midway through the fourth quarter to about the very end of this game. Turns this from a close one to a Portland double-digit win where they win by 18 points. If you look at this game directly on paper, you probably think that the Blazers led this game for a good majority of the game, but no, this was an entirely fourth quarter performance for the Blazers. They win this final frame 39-18, which helps get them the win. Portland's slow start, where they shot just 35% from the field in the first quarter. They ended the game going 55% from the field as a team, 34.5% from long distance, and this was because of a massive fourth quarter that the Blazers had, where they shot 79% from the field as a team. All around fantastic end to this game for them. Let's see. For the Blazers, the most shocking thing out of nowhere has to be Delano Banton, who played all of the fourth quarter. It was the only 12 minutes of this game that he played, and he scored 20 points in 12 minutes. Out of nowhere. He had barely been playing at all this year, hasn't been getting any rotational minutes. He was playing well at the end of last year, but with, the young guard surplus that the Blazers have, he hasn't been playing that much, and I think he wants to play, everyone. I'm just going to go out on a little hunch there after his 20.8 and 9 shooting performance. I think he might want some rotation minutes, just a thought here or there. Anthony Simons, he leads Portland in scoring with 24-4, 10-17 from the field, 3 of 8 from 3. DeAndre Ayton, due to the Pelicans being a smaller, short-handed team, was able to use that to his advantage. Had a 19-point, 13-rebound game, 9 of 14 from the field. Tsunami Kamara, 16, 5, and 4. He also shot 50% from the field. Had a strong game all around on both sides of the ball as well. So even though guys like, Jeremy Grant had an inefficient night, going just 5 of 15 from the field, finishing with 16 points. Denny Advia continuing to stay cold on the season, and, guys like Scoot Henderson not having their best games. The Blazers were able to use that fantastic fourth quarter led by the unsung hero of Banton to pull away and get a great win in this one. For New Orleans, they are just a team that is so short-handed right now. They have 6 rotation players out currently. No CJ, no DeJounte, no Zion, no Herb, no Trey Murphy, no Jordan Hawkins in this game tonight for the Pelicans. And without them, the fact they were even in this game is impressive in the first place. Brandon Ingram was able to keep them in it. Him, Brandon Boston Jr., and Jose Alvarado, despite being inefficient, Alvarado was just 28% from the field in this one. Those 3 were able to help keep New Orleans in this game, but in the fourth quarter, it all just came falling apart for them. New Orleans completely folded on both sides of the ball. Just did not play well, period. Brandon Ingram leads the Pelicans in scoring with 27 points. He has 7 assists as well. B.I. was good at driving to the cup and hitting his mid-range shots, but he was just 1 of 8 from long distance in this one. Brandon Boston Jr., he had 20, was an efficient 9 of 15. He had a strong game. Jose Alvarado, like I said earlier, 18 points, but he was just 28% from the field, 4 of 14 from the field. He also was a team low, minus 27 plus minus Y. So while he did have his good moments, he also, had a good amount of issues in this one. Jeremiah Robinson Earl, he was also in double figures, had a solid game with 12 and 5, 5 of 7 shooting. Yves Misi, he got the start, 4 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, only took 1 shot, made it. Wasn't his best game, wasn't his worst game, but it's good to see him starting already. I mean, especially in this type of rookie class, to see a guy already starting some games, that's got to be something that's reassuring for the Pelicans right now. Jalen Noel, he had 11 on 4 of 12 shooting. This was his first game. New Orleans just signed him early on in the year to basically a 10-day deal, especially, with how hurt New Orleans is right now. They just wanted to give a guy who could come in and maybe provide some value. Didn't do much in this one, but, was in double figures. And all around just was not the best game for New Orleans. The fact they were able to stay in it was a testament to how strong their defense was, very early on in this game. But Portland was able to gradually come back, pull away, and get a big double-digit win in this one, as the Pelicans just overall have started off this season not as well as they would have liked to. Will look to rebound Wednesday against the undefeated Cavaliers, while the Blazers don't play until Thursday, where they head to San Antonio to take on the Spurs. We've got the Pacers getting a 134-127 win over the Mavericks. The Pacers now 3-4 on the season, while Dallas is 4-3. And in this one, the Pacers had the lead for the majority of this game. They started off really strong. I mean, they jumped out to a 13-point lead just 4 minutes into this game. Dallas was able to counter it, and over the next, quarter, they were able to turn this into a close game again. The end of the second quarter was very back and forth, and Dallas was able to take the lead at one point, and in the third quarter, a very similar thing happened, back and forth the entire frame, and this was also true for the beginning of the fourth quarter. For a good, 30-minute stretch of this game, it was back and forth with neither team really not able to get the edge. Both of these offenses were firing on all cylinders all night long, and it led to it being a tie game with about 5-6 minutes left, but down the stretch, the Pacers' offense was just better than Dallas's was, and it led to Indiana being able to pull away and get a really good win in this one. Indiana's offense was just slightly able to outplay Dallas's offense in a battle of two titans on the offensive side of the ball. Indiana ends the game shooting 57% from the field, 40.5% from three. They're led by Miles Turner, who has his best game of the year, 30 points, 11 rebounds, 10 of 17 from the field, 5 of 8 from three. Tyrese Halliburton, he also has one of, if not his best game of the season so far. 25 points, 12 assists, 10 of 16 shooting. All 6 of his misses were from downtown, though. He goes 2 of 8 from long distance, but he was attacking the cup tremendously. Pascal Siakam, he adds 23 points and 6 rebounds of his own on an efficient 10 of 16 shooting. Benedict Mathurin, he comes and gets 16 points, 7 rebounds, 7 of 13 shooting, makes 3 of his 4 threes. Andrew Nembhard has 11. Obi Toppin has 11. TJ McConnell has 12. All around, just a phenomenal game from the Pacers offense from start to finish, from first guy in the rotation to ninth guy in the rotation. This is what the Indiana Pacers offense is at their best, and it's what we saw at points throughout the playoffs last year, where so many different guys can provide value, and it makes them such a nightmare to deal with depth-wise. And for Dallas, it was more of a, star-powered game for them. Luka Doncic, tremendous, 34 points, 7 rebounds, 15 assists, may have shot just 9 of 24 from the field, was 4 of 10 from 3, did go to the line a lot, may have not been his most efficient game from the field, but Dallas would have never been in this game without him. He just did so much on the offensive side of the ball, even if he wasn't very efficient. Kyrie Irving, 27 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 11 of 21 from the field, 3 of 7 from 3. He has a strong night. Najee Marshall, 25 and 6. He has a super efficient 8 and 9 game, his best as a Mav. Spencer Dinwiddie with 14. Klay Thompson with 16 as he continues his strong start in Dallas. And then, PJ Washington didn't have his best game, 8 points, 11 rebounds, just 3 of 11 shooting, and he seems to be, a pretty sore thumb for what Dallas is trying to provide. They give him a lot of corner three looks, like I say, and he's one of the worst corner three shooters in the league. That's just not his shot, and I wonder if Dallas is either going to try, move him to the bench or just try and move him outright, because I don't know if he fits with the current Mavericks scheme, and I know he had some very strong games in that finals run last year, but, especially in today's NBA, you're always going to be looking to get better. Dallas's defense just did not have a good game in this offensive shootout. Neither team really played defense at all. Very good game, but Indiana's offense was just a little bit better and had a little more depth, which helped give them the win. Teams will be at home on Wednesday, with Indiana taking on Orlando and Dallas taking on Chicago. Second time in a week, the Denver Nuggets barely squeak out a win against the Toronto Raptors, winning 121-119. And honestly, Toronto had the lead for a good amount of this game. Denver, starts off strong in the first few minutes, takes a 7-point lead early on, but Toronto quickly counters with a run of their own, a 13-3 run that gives them the lead. And throughout most of the second quarter and most of the game in general, while it never really turned into a blowout, with Toronto's biggest lead being 14 early into the third quarter, the Raptors did have control of this game for almost all of the first three quarters, but near the end of the third, Denver started going on a run. It made it a 5-point game heading into the fourth quarter, but Toronto was able to hold on to this lead until there were about 5 minutes left, and they were up by 9. It was 109 to, I believe, 100 was what the score was, and then through those final few minutes, Denver goes on a 21-10 run. They flip this game upside down. They barely take the lead late. Julian Strawther missed one of his 2 free throws, which had to have scared a few Denver fans out here again, like, oh my God, the missed free throws, here we go again. But the game-winning 3 attempt from RJ Barrett was not able to fall. Denver barely holds on. They barely get another win against the Toronto Raptors, but hey, they win both games against them this year, even though they were super close. Even though it was a win, Denver did get injury news they did not want. They already have Jamal Murray in concussion protocol. Now Aaron Gordon has a calf injury, and he's going to have to miss some time, which is the question that I've been talking about. Will this Nuggets bench, who, by the way, probably had one of their better nights of the year tonight, will they be able to provide value? And will these guys that, wouldn't ever start, being placed in the starting lineup, will these guys be able to keep up and keep, the Nuggets offense as good as it usually is, when Jamal Murray's in there, when Aaron Gordon's in there? Will these guys still be able to provide great value with Jokic next to them? Or will they take a step back? And if they do, that could lead to a lot of issues for Denver. But one of Denver's issues is not Nikola Jokic. He has been magnificent once again to start the season of 28 points, 14 rebounds, 13 assists. May have shot just 10 of 22, which is low for Jokic standards, but all around fantastic game for him. Russell Westbrook, another guy who has a really good game off the bench, 21, 6 and 6, 6 of 10 shooting, good game for him. Peyton Watson does a great job in place of Aaron Gordon, 16, 3 and 1, 4 stocks, 4 of 7 shooting. He's probably going to get those starting minutes with Gordon out for the time being, and I'm really interested to see how he's going to play next to Jokic. Michael Porter Jr., 19, 9 and 3, wasn't his most efficient game at 7 of 16 shooting, at 3 of 10 from 3, but still had a solid game. Christian Braun, he continues his good start to the year with 17 points on 7 of 11 shooting. Julian Strawther, he had 13 points on 4 of 10 shooting. He hit the game-winning shot as well. And all around, even though they were down for most of this game, the Nuggets were still able to get a win, and they're now above 500 and have won 4 of their last 5, despite them not playing very well to start this season off. And this Raptors team has so much fight. They're only missing Emmanuel quickly now, and we're really starting to see what their rotation is going to be, at full strength. And I do love how many guys Darko Radkovic plays. He loves his young guys. He knows that these guys really, have deserved these minutes as well with how they've played throughout the start of the season. And he's seeing which young guys he likes. I do like the strategy. First of all, Grady Dick has been having a fantastic sophomore season so far. 26 points, 5 assists in this one, 10 of 20 shooting, made 4 of his 9 threes as well. As I'm looking down at it. He has a great game. He has been the leading scorer out of sophomore players so far this year. Jakob Poeltl, he adds 24 and 11 of his own, 11 of 18 shooting. Ochai Agbaji had 16 on 6 of 11 shooting. He played some good defense as well. Davion Mitchell, 13 and 8, 5 of 11 shooting. Wasn't his best game from long distance, but outside of that, he played really well. But it was not the best game for RJ Barrett. Just 16 points, 6 rebounds, 10 assists. You look at that on paper, you think, oh, he probably had a solid game, but did shoot 5 of 21 from the field. Overall, a really rough shooting game for him. He also had 5 turnovers. Jamal Sheed, he did have a solid game off the bench. 8 points, 3 assists, made 3 of his 4 shots as well. Jonathan Mogbo had his moments, but outside of that, just was not enough for the Raptors. They were right there. They had the lead for most of the game, and like I said, for most teams, you're probably going to feel bad that you blew a lead, but for this Raptors team, for, how shorthanded they are, not how shorthanded they are now, but, how young they are and how they keep fighting against teams that just are more talented than they are, it has to be such a reassuring thing to watch as a Raptors fan right now. Teams will play again on Wednesday night, with Denver being home against the Thunder and the Raptors being on the road to take on Sacramento. Thanks to the heroics of Kevin Durant, the Suns were able to get a 118-116 win over the Sixers in Paul George's debut. The Suns, they're now 6-1 on the year. The Sixers continuing their cold start. They are just 1-5 to start the season. It was a really exciting one from start to finish. Phoenix started off this game really strong. They went up by double digits in the first quarter. It looked like it could be another Philadelphia blowout loss, but the Sixers were able to quickly counter, go on a 23-7 run, take the lead at some point in the second quarter, force this into a really back and forth game in both the second and third quarters, and this game was really back and forth for the next 20, 25 minutes until the Sixers finally really broke through. They went on another nice run. They took a 9-point lead with 5 minutes left, but gradually and slowly but surely, Phoenix started coming back in the game. They had a few shots. They were starting to hit their shots. Kevin Durant was really taking over. They were stopping Philadelphia really well, and sure enough, it became a 1-point game with a minute left. Force another Sixers miss. Kevin Durant hits a 2 to give the Suns the lead with about a minute to go. Tyrese Maxey is fouled, goes 1 of 2 from the line. Kevin Durant's 3 is no good, but they get another chance. Kevin Durant's second opportunity, he goes right downhill, lays it up, gives the Suns the lead. The Sixers decide to not call a timeout. Paul George decides to take a mid-range shot to try and tie the game. It does not fall, and Phoenix is able to hold on to get to the win. Was overall able to have a really good game on the offensive side of the ball, despite Devin Booker having a 3 of 18 night from the field and overall having probably his worst game of the season so far, and one of the worst I've seen from him in a long time. Even with that, Phoenix was able to shoot 51% from the field in this win, and they had a really efficient game all around, led by Kevin Durant. 35 points, 6 assists, 14 of 20 shooting, was sensational down the stretch. Bradley Beal, he also had an efficient game, 17 points, 5 rebounds, 7 of 10 from the field. Yusuf Nurkic, 15 points, 15 rebounds, 5 of 8 shooting. Had his moments, also had his not so very smart moments, was all around a solid game for him, but he did make a few mistakes that were really, really mind-boggling, especially, in the down the stretch of that game. He made a few plays in the fourth quarter that were not very smart. Royce O'Neal, he had 15 points, 5 rebounds, 6 a night, shooting 3 of 4 from 3. Grayson Allen had 14 points. Wasn't the best game for Tyus Jones, who had 4 points, 5 assists, but all around, the Suns were able to get a super efficient offensive game outside of Devin Booker, which was able to help them stay in this one, get the win. And for Philadelphia, they also, the Suns did a really good job of guarding most people outside of Tyrese Maxey. They were able to keep the Sixers' others really off the board outside of Tyrese. The only other guy that had a good game for Philadelphia, in my eyes, offensively, outside of Maxey, was Yabusele. Maxey, he has 32 points, 12 of 22 shooting, 6 of 14 from 3. He was keeping Philadelphia in the game at points, but I really would have liked him to have the ball down the stretch more. They gave the ball to PG a lot more. He finishes with 15, 5, and 4. Shoots just 4 of 14, has a good amount of turnovers, was not the Sixers' debut he was looking for, was clearly shaking the rust off, but you also do have to realize, as someone who watched a lot of this game, especially you could tell with all the stuff behind me, Paul George did create a lot of gravity out there. The Sixers' offense looked so much better in general, and you could just look at it when watching the game. The Sixers were getting better looks. They were playing more cohesive defense. I mean, you have to look at it this way. They still do not have Joel Embiid, and they won't have him for another 3 games thanks to the suspension that he just got for the locker room incident, which, bullshit, but I understand that they have to give him the suspension, as much as I personally may not agree with it. Even with, Embiid not being there, they were able to take one of the teams that's looked like one of the best teams in the entire league down to the final second without him on the court. Maxey is a good game. Yabusele, 19, 7, and 6, 6 of 14 from the field, 5 of 11 from 3. Phoenix was daring him to shoot in that fourth quarter, and Yabu hit a few of them, but he also missed a few of them, So that's one, where Phoenix is looking for him to shoot, and he did miss his final few shots. So the strategy for Coach Bud did work out. Kyle Lowry did have another good game. He's been off to a good start to the year. 13 and 7, was 5 of 8 from the field. Oubre had 11, wasn't his best game all around. Eric Gordon had 10 on 3 of 6 shooting. And the Sixers are off to this slow start to the year, just 1 of 5 right now. Not looking that good, but this was their best game outside of the win, of course, and they were able to do it against a very good team. And not only that, they've been lucky that the rest of the Eastern Conference has been doing nothing, really. Like I said, and have continued to say, there are only 2 teams in the East right now that are above 500. So even though the Sixers are 1 and 5 right now, they are 2 games out of third place in the Eastern Conference, which just shows you how crazy the East is right now and how unpredictable it is right now. Look to get another win Wednesday against Miami, and Philadelphia will also play Wednesday in LA to take on the Clippers in Paul George's return to LA, which I am really interested to see because I do think that the crowd's probably going to boo him. Speaking of the Clippers, they were able to pull off the biggest comeback win of the season so far, beating the Spurs 113 to 104. This now puts the Clippers at 3-4 on the year, and also puts San Antonio at 3-4. And this one was crazy because the Spurs had this lead from the jump. They went up 40-14 at the end of the first quarter. The Spurs dominated on both sides of the ball, went up by 26 at the end of one, and then as the game progressed, the Clippers had a massive second quarter that basically cut the lead in more than in half. The Clippers won that second quarter 34-16. That takes 18 of that 26 off the board right there. They go back and forth in the third quarter, and then in the fourth quarter, the Clippers once again dominate. They have a great offensive stretch from the second quarter to the fourth quarter. It's 34 in the second, 34 in the third, 31 in the fourth. Clippers offense catches fire while also in both the second and fourth quarter playing spectacular defense. So even though the Spurs have a fantastic first quarter and were up by as much as 26, they completely blow it and give the Clippers a fantastic win. Were able to get this win through a few main factors. Firstly, of course, was their defense. It was way better after a bad first quarter. They did a sensational job in both the second and fourth quarters. Secondly, their three-point shooting was really good. They shoot 51.4% from downtown, make 19 of their 37 threes. Was about to short sell them a little bit while holding San Antonio to 27% from long distance. And lastly, they were able to get a bunch of production outside of their star player. James Harden took just 10 shots in this one, finished with 17, 8, and 4, an efficient 6 of 10 from the field and 3 of 5 from 3. But outside of him, it was really the others that won this game for the Clippers. Norman Powell continues his strong start to the year. 23 points, 3 assists, 3 steals, 7 of 15 from the field, 5 of 8 from 3. Amir Coffey, 21 points. He shoots 8 of 10 from the field and 5 of 6 from 3. He has a great game. Zubac, 17 points, 13 rebounds. He does shoot a very inefficient 6 of 17 from the field due to Victor Wembanyama's defense, but he still did provide value. Chris Dunn had a strong game, 11 points, 3 rebounds, played some great defense, 4 of 9 from the field, made a few threes as well. Derek Jones Jr. was in double figures. He shot 4 of 10 from the field. And lastly, while Kevin Porter Jr.'s shooting continues to stay cold to start the year, he had another 3 of 10 game. He did rebound the ball well, and he was distributing the ball well as well. He was more of like a Swiss Army knife in this game. He did do a lot of the little things in this one, which helped the Clippers a lot. Outside of that, let's look at San Antonio now. And before I do say anything about them, I really am praying for Greg Popovich. The concerns about his health right now are pretty scary, and I really do hope he's okay. He's a legend of the game. I hope he's with his family right now. More than anything, we should be concerned about his health. It doesn't matter if he's coaching or if he's never going to coach again. All that truly matters is Greg Popovich's health. And if he's healthy enough to coach again, that would be awesome. But I really just want him to be healthy. That's more important than any basketball thing. And now we can talk about San Antonio after I said that. Victor Wembanyama, he does lead the Spurs. He has a really strong defensive game with 9 blocks, has 3 steals as well. 12 stocks, it's just ridiculous. He has 24 points, 13 rebounds. Doesn't have his most efficient game. Goes 9 of 22 from the field as he tries to continue, his outside shooting start to the season, which I'm personally not the biggest fan of. I get why he's trying it. I really do. But sometimes you just got to be like, dude, you're 7'4", 7'5". Go down the paint a little bit. I'm not saying you have to do that every time. I do think that you should be shooting threes. I mean, we saw what happens with other big men. Their game can open up so much once they get that shot down. But you also don't have to make that your entire game, especially when you're a 7'4", 7'5" guy. That's my personal opinion. If you guys have a different opinion, please let me know. I'd be really interested to hear about it. Also, Julian Champagne, he had 21 points, 5 rebounds, did shoot an efficient 7 of 12 from the field, 5 of 10 from 3. Chris Paul, 14, 6 and 10, 6 of 11 from the field. Outside of those few guys, though, it was a little quiet for the Spurs. Jeremy Sohan, he only played 12 minutes, and he broke his finger, so he will have to miss some time, which, that's an injury that San Antonio did not want to suffer, especially since Sohan had been playing well to start the year off. Keldon Johnson, he had 10 points off the bench on 8 shots, did play pretty well. Stephon Castle, 11 points, 4 of 10 from the field. He did miss all 3 of his threes, but he did show some solid flashes, which is all San Antonio wants to see right now. Castle has looked pretty good to start this year off in moments. Hasn't been perfect, but has been playing pretty well. And I do like his defensive play a lot, which a lot of people don't really seem to talk about. Overall, though, just a complete collapse from San Antonio. They went from shooting, 61% in the first quarter down to, 5 of 18 in the second quarter. So even though they rebounded, had a pretty solid third quarter, they had that horrible fourth quarter that completely tanked them, and it caused them to completely blow this 26-point lead, which is now the biggest collapse lead of the season so far. Teams will play again on Wednesday, with San Antonio trying to rebound against Houston and the Clippers taking on the Sixers. Finally concludes all 15 games from the NBA yesterday. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If you stayed to the end, first of all, you're a sicko. I love you. You're a sicko. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. God bless, and please stay safe out there.